let's see what I got. Here's a song about traveling, actually.
Okay.
Well, I woke up this morning with cold water with the cold water. Said I woke up this morning with cold water with the cold water with the cold. And the police at the station and they don't look friendly, no, they don't look friendly, no, they don't look friendly. Police at the station and they don't look friendly, no, they don't look friendly, no, they don't. Blind or crippled, shuffle dull, I'm reading the Bible. What price is freedom? Dirty is my rug, and I sleep like a baby with snakes and the bugs away love. Man, I don't know. It seems to like me, seems to like me, seems to
Hello,
like
viewers.
Man, I don't know.
It's your half-assed art correspondent, and we're here at the bottom of the Lower East Side, maybe the west side of the Lower East Side. We're gonna pop in here at Postmasters Gallery, and we're gonna try to get some pictures of an exhibition by David Diao, Berlin Chair in Pieces. Stay tuned.
So I slept in the graveyard. It was cool and still, yeah, it was cool and still, yeah, it was cool and still. Slept in the graveyard. It was cool and still, yeah, it was cool and still, yeah, it was cool.
We'll come in and do our sweep of the installation. Gosh, there's the chair.
Holy grail, but there ain't nothing sweeter than a ride in the reservoir. The 47, but I'm 24, and he shoot me away from me the time before. Turn the backs, lock their doors, and watch TV through the window of the furniture store.
The title of the show is Berlin Chair in Pieces. And it says in the press release that the chair was designed by Gerrit Rietveld in 1923, and it was built by Gerard van der Gerentzikan. Also, I'm thinking you've got the probably the Dutch still artists, and it sounds like I was going to say maybe he was a Russian constructivist that built it, but he's also, the builder sounds Dutch as well. They've got it hanging from the ceiling. And I want you to note the colors and sizes and proportions of these different shapes, because all the paintings are based on the parts of the chair. Well, I'm gonna have to hurry because I got in here and I was yakking with Charlie Ahern, the guy that directed Wild Style. And then some other people came in and we were having a pretty good discussion about the show. And David Rietveld's Berlin Chair Circle Blue 2021. This is acrylic on canvas, 72 by 72 inches. And one of the things that Charlie and I were admiring was the immaculate surface that David gets on these paintings. I was talking about, they almost look like they're Formica. They're so well polished and smooth. Okay, so they're all titled Rietvald's Berlin Chair Parts. This is actual scale. on teal. Well, yes, David does get a wonderful surface on these. And we were thinking about, I think he also sands the surface a bit, and a lot of this is with probably broad palette knives. So all of these shapes and forms are based on the pieces of the chair, and even the various shapes. He paints the same color as the chair, so although there is some color variation, these are all based on the same thing. Well, I was just chatting with the Burr Smith about the show. I can't find this one in the online listing, but I imagine it's another Reitveld's chair, probably on a blue background. And yeah, I would say that, gosh, this probably is nearly exactly the same size, all the pieces. So I was thinking that this piece, maybe it's just because it's big, and I would say that this is probably, gosh, 8 by 6 feet, something like that. 96 by 68, something like that. That maybe David just had to work on it a little more emphatically. Okay, so this is another Berlin chair. This is 60 by 45, two color, green and tan, 2021. We were talking about some of Bryce Martin's paintings from the 60s and 70s and comparing the surface by and I think Bryce Martin also did a whole series where he was getting into the grays and kind of sea greens. You can look at his latest show that we posted about 3 months ago and see that he stuck with the same colors. Okay, this is red, yellow, and blue, 2021, acrylic on canvas. I was just thinking that, well, David has been painting for a long time. I think John Yao writes in the press release that he's in his late 70s, and I think moved here, gosh, maybe in the late 60s. And he's also very knowledgeable about art history and all kinds of interesting minutiae about the art scene. I posted something on Facebook of a painting that I'd recently finished, and it had a little notation on Samuel Coots. And said that he closed the gallery in 1960, and David left the post saying, no, it was 1966, because he promised he was going to stay open until Hans Hofmann passed away. So that red, yellow, and blue, I'm thinking, relates to a Barnett Newman painting, maybe, but in a humorous, obscure way. Also, David has got a wonderful palette, a great sense of color, and you can really tell that when someone is layering layers and layers upon layers, that they have to know what's going to happen when you put something on top of something else. Okay, so this is 3-color, vertical. So looking at the edges of these forms and wondering if David was taping these. Okay, they're giving me the eye, so I spent too much time yakking. Well, it happened again. I came into a show about an hour before closing. I thought I'd have plenty of time to do some recording and think about things. And then I started running into people and yakking. Had a nice discussion with Charlie Ahern, the guy that directed Wild Style and helped make Patty Astor a star. He's a very astute observer of painting. This is chair number 3, colored ground horizontal. This is 66 by 54. Also, gosh, I'm in here working and I saw someone I haven't seen for a while. Roberta Smith came in and we chatted some more. And then there were a few other people, and the next thing I knew, it was time to go home, and I hadn't gotten the second room done. Okay, this is chair forming a circle green, 2021 acrylic on canvas. This is 83 by 84 inches. Well, as I was saying, we were looking at these pretty closely, and well, I had David I was in a show with David that closed about 3 weeks ago called On the Bowery, and he was one of the artists that was in the show, and maybe I'll paste in one of his painting that was in there. You can see that I think the painting's from 1973, 74, but he's carried on a lot of his color things, his surface, and the formalism. Also, I like this, that many of these pieces are kind of horizontal and vertical based on grids, but something like that, he's broken out of that and it's gone into a circular pattern. This is a nice one. Okay, so this is the chair part's actual scale on a tomato coral field. Well, one of the things we were talking about is that David is actually and I would say this is one of the great things about him, he's a conceptual painter, and well, he's done many series of paintings where he's got texts and things in here. I think I was actually here at Postmasters a couple of years ago and saw a little show they had in front. And it was, one of the series was like a calendar of years from, I don't know what, 1974 to 89 or something like that. And it was kind of listing his artistic accomplishments and the number of paintings he had sold, and all beautifully done with wonderful text and everything. Yeah, we were trying to figure out how he actually achieves this surface. And as I was saying, I think he does a lot of scraping with a pretty broad palette knife, squeegeeing, and I also think that for his base, he kind of sands parts of this down to make sure it's extra smooth. And he slides on his colors. Chair parts on one layer orange. Gosh, I wonder if that means that this ground is all done in one layer. Could be. Again, this is a very punchy color thing, and all of these parts are based on the same color as in the actual chair. So then when he floats that kind of grays and off-whites and blacks onto this orange field, it's pretty zippy. And it's also, he's got his 8 essential parts that he works and reworks and places. Okay, so we were also looking at his little pencil lines, and he's very immaculate and has a great surface. But if he leaves those pencil lines there, he does that for a reason. And I think it's kind of to show that no matter how pristine these are, they're still made by some human being. Their hands, their little paws are making these things. So this is Reitveld's Berlin chair parts describing a square dash magenta 2021 acrylic on canvas 84 by 84. So that's a 7-foot square. And I saw this reproduced online, and I was thinking, boy, they must have photoshopped this. But when I came in, it's not quite as brilliant, but this is a extremely intense magenta. You can see that David has built up the layers on top of something else, probably a lighter pink ground, maybe several. Gosh, that's a ding. Okay, so this is Reitveld's Berlin chair parts. In Kutsura, 2 blue and yellow. Well, we were looking at this and going, boy, he's really gotten jazzy and kind of decorative with this one. But again, he does his little things. You sort of expect things to be done a certain way, and then he kind of breaks those expectations up. Like it would have been so easy for him to run these chair forms up along that horizontal line with the checkerboards, but no, he's brought them down about 1.5 inches below there. So it kind of disturbs the perfect, smooth, geometrical lines that he has. Also, again, these aren't just out of the tubes blues and yellows. These have been kind of tinted, toned. I think when you have more things happening, there's a greater opportunity for painterly incidents. So this has been James Kalm reporting on David Diao's Berlin sharing pieces. Here's Postmaster. All blue. We are on West 26th Street, and we're going to try to go in here at a pace and look at what should be an extremely interesting exhibition. Stay tuned. Okay, and we're going to take a look at this show, Ad Reinhardt, Color Out of Darkness. If we can get in there. Okay, here's the wall text. Ad Reinhardt, Color Out of Darkness, curated by James Turrell. Okay, we're very curious about this. Okay, we'll look behind the curtain. This is Abstract Red Painting, 1952. Oil on canvas, 50 by 20 inches. Okay, well, I've also, James has designed the little nooks here, and I imagine he's probably spent a lot of time thinking about the lighting. I'm a big fan of Ad Reinhardt. I have been for years. Probably go back in the files and look at a beautiful show that Robert Storr curated at David's Werner. My gosh, at this point it's probably 8 or 10 years ago. And that was interesting because it had a lot of Ad's cartoons, his jokes, his texts. This is Abstract Painting Blue, 1952. 30 by 20, and well, this is interesting. I'm looking at this and seeing that this is actually a triptych, and well, I was joking with someone that she said Ad is like a god, and I said, well, maybe not that, but he is a saint, and this is the gospel according to James. She said, James? I said, yeah, James Turrell. Yeah, I would say that there are aspects about this that kind of structure your viewing perspective. I think the lighting is one, and also keeping you about 6 feet away from it sort of changes the way that you can see these things. I think the interesting thing is that usually when you think about Reinhardt, you think about his black or the dark gray paintings, and this is a great chance to see his color work. It's titled Abstract Painting Red, 1953. This is 30 by 30. Ed was one of the, if not one of the founding members, one of the important ancillary figures of abstract expressionism, although Ed was kind of a philosophical contrarian with a lot of kind of Zen approach to subject matter, and he kind of parodied and made fun of the existential angst of a lot of abstract expressionism. Okay, this is interesting because I'm noting the color on the frames, and I'm wondering how much control James Turrell had in the presentation. I wonder if he had these pieces reframed, and I was also noticing that these walls are not really white. They're kind of off-white, almost with a green tint, and that's one of the reasons I'm wondering about the lighting as well. There's a lot of thought has gone into this. We've even got the little seats that are designed. We've got the central pill shape. Okay, so this is one of the black pieces. That's actually good. I'm looking through the monitor and I can see a better image of the gradations, the kind of purple versus blue tints. This is actually a square that's divided into 9 smaller squares. Okay, this is 60 by 60, and I think this was his final format. I think Ad died young, 1968, and I think he was only 58, something like that. And I think that for the last 10 years or so of his life, this is what he painted. And the Robert Storr show I was talking about featured, gosh, maybe a dozen, maybe 15 of these. They're all about the same size. So this is 1963. And I think it was Frank Stella that took an early interest in Ad Reinhardt, and when he started to see the beginnings of minimalism and a sort of a sympathetic aesthetic coming out of some young painters, he took Ad Reinhardt around and introduced him to some of the other minimalist people like Don Judd, maybe Carl Andre. Abstract Painting Blue, 1953. This is 56 by 22. And this would probably be considered pretty exuberant for Ad. I've been working on a series of blue paintings myself, but this is really nice. And also, this is a diptych. See, I was mentioning Carl Andre as one of the minimalists that Ad might have influenced, and I've been doing a series of maps and looking at where people's studios were, and one of the ironic things is that Ad Reinhardt had a studio at the end of Waverly Place on Broadway, and if you look across the street, there's a giant apartment tower, which is the same tower that Anna Mendieta fell, jumped, or was pushed to her death in, I think, 1985. And Ad was long gone by then, but if he would have looked out of his studio windows, 2 o'clock in the morning, I think it was September 8th, 1985, he could have seen what happened when Anna went out the window. Abstract painting red, 1953. 42 by 42. It actually is, it's interesting. I've never seen a bunch of Reinhardt monochromes other than the blacks or the dark grays anywhere. I mean, you see one or two somewhere. I think they've got a pretty nice one over at the Brooklyn Museum. See a lot of them in the art history books. It's very hard for my camera's focusing mechanism to work on this because it's so homogeneous. Okay, one more. Okay, this is titled Abstract Painting 1956. And this is a little larger. This is 80 by 70 inches. This might be one of the largest black pieces I've ever seen. I was just having a little chat with some visitors, and they were saying that they couldn't see the crosses or the magic squares in the black pieces. And well, I was speculating if that was because Turrell kind of dimmed down the lighting and colored the walls and all these things with that kind of an idea that he wanted to make it harder to distinguish the compositional design. Well, I can see a little rectangle at the bottom. It's got kind of a greenish tint. So I was listening to some people talking about Ad's painting technique and how he would take his oil paint, squirt it into a jar, pour a bunch of turpentine in there, and let the oil in the paint kind of dissolve and run out, and then he would slowly kind of pour off the broth until he got down to just a little layer of sludge in the bottom, and that was what he painted with, and that's how he got this extremely dry surface. And the other thing is that there were stories that people would have the pieces at their homes and they would get banged and dinged a little bit, and he would have to repaint them, and they would come back in a month or 2 months and say, gosh, that's not even the same painting. He changed it so much, but that could be apocryphal. Well, this has been James Kalm. We've been looking at Reinhardt, Color Out of Darkness, created by James Turrell, here at Pace. You can like this, share, link it up to all your social media sites, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, and reviews below. We just ask you to say, thank you, Kate.
With the cold water, with the cold water, with the cold.
Thank you, that was great.
No problem, man.
That's a beautiful guitar you got there. What is that?
It's a resonator mandolin.
Mandolin.
Yeah.
It's a beaut.
Just
Oh, that's
missing a
beautiful.
couple strings right now.
Yeah, okay.